So that warm-up I was doing earlier, I should probably do that real quick. So let's see which one to start with. First cliche. I'm thinking of like the blues-based kind of stuff. So I mean, everybody probably knows. You kind of have that Chuck Berry sort of 12-bar blues thing that goes. And you know, it just gonna follow. That follows like a standard progression, you know. So with that, you can extend it a little bit, and then you can start adding in kind of like the other pentatonic notes in there, kind of moving that around in the lower register. So there, that's just kind of adding in a like a minor third. Kind of bending it a little bit. Thanks, Rick. You can do. You can extend it a little bit higher. You can add in like, because what we're doing here is it's basically it's just a power chord, you know, like a B power chord. Like that though, I'm using these two fingers just because of the way that I know that my other fingers are going to be hitting the higher notes on these strings. But it's like a power chord there, and then you do 2 frets up from there, so you get this, which is a major 6 interval. Now, if you go up one more, then you get a minor 7 right there, a flat 7, going from B to A. And you're used to hearing that too. And you can add in that minor third that I was just doing. And you can do something I like trying to do, but this is kind of tricky, is if you're doing the minor third in there, like getting that in there, but then you have to do a hammer on with the pinky up to the major third, so you get something like this within that. And that's a really quick change because you have to get from this to that to this really quickly. There's no room in between. So if you do it, if I slow it down, then it goes kind of like this. So that makes it sound more interesting, but that is tricky. You can also slide with it, which is something I like doing too. Now again, this what's fun about this, and I guess the last one too, is that you have to keep another note held down while you're doing it. In this case, when you're sliding, you have to be able to slide. You're kind of hitting your bottom two strings together, and you have to be able to slide up with the pinky while leaving that one sustaining. I guess you could try using your ring finger if you wanted, but I don't know how much I like that idea. Moving on to the next kind of blues-based one, you get this. You have the kind of like the swing shuffle sort of a ascending lick that goes. Everybody's heard that. What that is it's basically just kind of it's like a seventh arpeggio, a seventh chord arpeggio with a major sixth in it. So you have starting from B, which is what I've been playing a lot in. Like all of this so far has been in B. It's like having like your 1, your 3, your 5, your 6, and your flat 7. And typically it's with a swing rhythm. Although you don't have to double up the notes for it just to be swing, Just kind of get that uppity sort of a offbeat accent going on. Now, something you can do with that is two things. Actually, it's one thing, but it's done two different ways. So what we're going to do first is kind of turn it into, we're going to double up and turn it into triplets, basically, and just kind of stagger a lot of the notes in there. So we're repeating the same ones multiple times. And here's what it turns into. And right now I'm going to be picking every note. So we're starting with this. Now we're going to change it to this. What is that? Well, we're starting with on the B again. So we're kind of like going from and we're throwing in the flat 7 down here, lower. So our lowest note here is going to be that A. And we go like this. We go like our 1, flat 7, 1. And then we're going to go our major third to our 1, to our major third. Perfect 5th, major 3rd, perfect 5th. Major 6, perfect 5th, major 6, minor 7, major 6, minor 7. Well, I guess we do. You can do it a couple of different ways, actually. What I was originally doing is something that I do a lot by accident is when I play that sort of a stagger rhythm up, I play something slightly different descending. So doing it the way that I was originally going to do it, when we get up to the high point here, then we start going down 3 at a time, and then stagger it, stagger it, stagger it. So the lick does actually change, just like the phrasing changes once it reaches that high point and starts going down. So that was just to explain it by the scale degrees. It would be a flat 7, 6, 5. Then we go back up 6, 5, 3. Go back up our 5th, our 3rd, our 1. Go back up, and that's our 3rd, our 1, and our flat 7. So going up or ascending, we have, and then again. And then just remove that hesitation in there where I'm using that to separate, show you where one starts and the next one. The first half of it starts and then the second half of it starts. So that is picking every note too. And now for something like this, I would also recommend doing it with like hammer-ons and pull-offs. So basically, if you're doing it with the hammer-ons and pull-offs, it's the principle of it is really easy. It's just like if there's more than one note on a string where you can do a hammer-on or a pull-off, you do it. And if not, if you're at a part where you're doing one note on one string and then another note on the next string, then you pick them. So see, that was just that started off with a pull-off and a hammer-on. Multiple notes on the same string, therefore I only picked the first one. But then we have this. That's going from the 5th string to the 6th to the 5th. So each of those gets its own picking. And then here, hammer-ons and pull-offs. And then we have everything's picked. And then now when we're starting to descend here, but it works the same way. It's just that we're not going to have the 3 consecutive notes that are like hammered on or pulled off, just because the pattern changes in a way to where there's only going to be 2 notes consecutively on the string at any given time, and that would be like this. So you do like a pull off there and a pick, and then we have a pick, pull off, pick, and then pull off. It's tricky, especially getting the sustain needed with clean tone. That's a little bit tough, but so, and you can also do it with palm muting. That's a little bit rough, but you can hear that really cool sounding pulse that's in there if you do that. That was palm muting, and that was also all hammer-ons and pull-offs. And I mean, clearly you can do that with all picking too. get easier with distortion for something like that. I'm not gonna lie, I at least find it to be. A lot of times clean tone just, I don't know, sometimes it just doesn't feel responsive enough or something like that. Normally you can work through it and even find a way to make it sound just as good with clean tone, and just you'll be able to play it just as easily with clean tone. But sometimes that takes a little bit of work, and I have not done that work for this exercise, but you can get it to sound really good. Picking every note. And palm muted with hammer-ons and pull-offs. Yeah, it's tricky stuff, but I mean, I was also trying to play that pretty quickly too, and that always makes it a little bit harder. But that is something you can do with your blues boogie. Yeah. Now, also, what I started doing before I found myself trailing off and doing something different than what I wanted to be doing, I was getting at that. If you wanted to do the exact same lick, but you're doing it truly backwards when you're descending, like a mirror image of it, then what you have is this. You have so the difference is we're doing it the exact same way. We have, for example, just the first three notes are all on the bottom string, right? Higher to lower to higher, but it's really doing two note groupings, and just of the two notes, one of them is being played twice. That's basically what it's like going up, ascending. And now instead of descending and doing three notes and then staggering and doing three notes, staggering, doing three notes, we're doing it the same way. We're doing three notes, but it's only two different ones, and one of the two is being played twice. And you can do that, I guess, too, kind of doing it backwards, where you're starting with the lower note, then you go into the higher one, then you go into the lower note. Oh, that's weird. That feels really strange. I don't think I've ever played it like that before. But it's the same sort of a thing, and you can play it with the same different picking styles as you did with the other ones. I was just picking everything that time, and then you can go. Again, I'm accenting the differences there in the note grouping, so that's why there's that pause. That was the hammer-ons and the pull-offs. as with hammer-ins and pull-offs and muted. But yeah, that way doing it backwards like that is something I've never done. That's tricky too, but it just sounds really cool. But that's all just neat little modifications that you can do of the blues boogie. And all right, next one. Next one is going to be, you know this one? That kind of a blues cadence that you hear a lot. Or sometimes you hear it with some extra slides in there, like. So what that one is it's just a bunch of sixth intervals, and whenever I do this one, and probably I'm sure a lot of other people do, you're looking at the note on the first string. The lowest note you play on the first string basically is going to be where this pattern is based around. So if we're playing it in B, then it's going to be based around this B note here. But that's also the lowest note. And when I say lowest, I mean fret numbers, not pitch. So the 7th fret on the top string is the lowest note that it's going to be hitting on the top string. So that's how we know that we're playing it around B. And so what you do is, you just kind of know that you go up here to, that's basically like up 1, 2, 3, 4, and down to your 3rd string. And that's how you know that that's actually going to be the first note that you play. And then you just play your 3rd string first, 3rd. And that was just, in this case, it's the 11th fret for both. And then same thing on 10. Same thing on 9. Now, when you get here, it gets a little bit different, and you have an 8 and then a 7. The intervals are, this is a major 6th interval. This is a major 6. This is a major 6. This is a minor 6. And with the slides in there, so if we had the 11th fret was our highest fret here, you slide from the 10 to 11, basically. You're sliding into your first note. This one, you have to slide up 2. And a lot of times you hear, it goes back after you hit the note on the first string, it goes back and it hits the note on the 3rd string again. Maybe not that one though, because that's where you kind of end. So you don't have to go back and hit that one again, but more with the slides. So that's kind of our cliche here. Now, what you can do with this is something I learned from Steve Morse, and it sounds so cool when he does it. At least for something like this, I'll put up a link and show you what I'm talking about. But what he does is he plays it in a way to where he adds these clusters of palm muted notes on bass, kind of like on the 3rd string. It's close to that. I haven't played that in quite a long time, but basically it's like instead of just doing that or like that, doing it with the slides, he does yeah, let's just go with that. I mean, I think there's one extra note per grouping there. It's not exactly what he does, but it's really close. And so you get this. Actually, I think that's one too many. Just look at it that way for now. So we're doing, instead of just having the 11th fret, we're doing 9, 10, 11, and then you're jumping up and hitting that one. And then same thing down here. It's going to be 8, 9, 10. Next one, 7, 8, 9, 9. This one is going to be, it sticks with the same sort of a thing where the notes here have, it's going to be one lower than the previous pattern. So we would have 6, 7, 8, 7. Let me trying to think about here. I'm just going to boot that up right now. It's Dixie Dregs, actually, which is Steve Morse. And the song is called, what is it called? Oh, okay, it's called The Bash. Yeah, that's right. And this particular version I'm thinking of, he does it in a live version. The album, I think, is called California Screaming or California Jammin'. All right. So cool. So it's for stuff like that. It almost kind of sounds like there's the notes are being forced into a certain time frame, you know, within the rhythm, and so. He's doing it like that. Then what we have here is which was I did the 11th first, and then I went down and did the 9, 10, 11, and then up like that. Then you jump back down to your third string and play those three notes again, descending 11, 10, 9. All palm muted too. It's easier on my because he's playing it in D right now, and D or A. Well, either way, he's doing it on the second and the fourth strings. It's a little bit harder to palm mute on the first and third strings. You can play it up here, though, if you want to compensate and do it on the second and the fourth strings. Then you would be doing it here. You just take everything and you would move it up so that you're, instead of basing it around that B there, you're doing it on that B there. But all of the pattern should be the same. Yeah, it's the same everywhere else. But yeah, that's a really cool one. play it again. Yeah, very, very cool. And that's a really big part of what I love about Steve Morse so much. Why he's my favorite for so long. Just forces everything into some kind of just really fast alternate picking palm muting sort of a sequence, and I really like stuff like that. So, or we can do it up here. That's really that's tricky too. I mean, with Steve Morse, he just has that way of playing. It's like just under tremolo picking speed. But when he does that, he's also a lot of times he does a lot of one note per string at that speed, which is just insane. You know, that kind of stuff. Luckily, this isn't that bad, but it's still pretty tricky. But he picks like nobody else. But anyway, that's that one. Our blues cadence sort of cliche. All right, so what's next? Something along the line of that I wanted to do. Let's start with this one actually. Where to do it though? Normally, something like this I would do up here. I don't know if I want to go that high though. Yeah, you know what? Never mind. It'll be okay. So I'm still in B, but now I'm looking at the B. Our starting note is this B here on the third string, all the way up here on 16. And so you get that lick. It's just kind of like a bluesy chromatic lick. You hear it. You hear it a lot. Stuff in like Hotel California. And what it is you're going from our B. We're starting on the second, which is the C sharp, and we go like this. Bend that up a whole step. So you're bending a C sharp up to a D sharp. Then you go up, and then we're going to go chromatically. You're just going up all the half steps. Then you go back down to that second, and then you kind of do a pre-bend, where you bend it before you hit the string. You kind of release, and then you go back to your B right there. In Hotel California, that part is kind of played around D. Same thing though, we're just doing it in B instead. So with that one, you can do something as simple as do like a kind of like an octave, a displaced octave here, where you're jumping up and you're all of a sudden you're hitting that last B an octave higher. I guess you could hit the lower one first. You can do that with it too. You can start with a go to the highest note here, and you can hit that one and bend it. Bend that one up a whole step actually, and then you kind of release it. And then we're really just going backwards. And then back up, but not all the way up. But adding in that extra octave instead. Which is what octave displacement means. It's just like taking something and bumping it up or down an octave unexpectedly. You hear that in blues a lot. A lot of times you hear it when there will be kind of a run, like in E, say. Just every time I'm going down, and then instead of ending it like that, I'm jumping back up and hitting an E that's an octave higher. That's all that octave displacement is. But so that was not too bad either. Next up, let's look back at this one. Just a really basic pentatonic sort of rock lead pattern, one of the first ones I ever learned. And that's one that you hear a lot also. So if we're in B, we're going back to B, staying in B. So what that is we're kind of looking at our starting note here, the B being here, but we're doing like a flat 7, a 5, and a 4, a perfect fourth. You can use your ring finger for that too if you don't want to use your pinky. That's very common. A lot of the times I wind up doing that when I do that pattern. I try not to, but sometimes I do. But the reason why I try not to just use those 3 fingers is because I want to be able to play things like this is another one I've talked about before. But what you do is you just take the lowest of these notes in that little sequence, which is that one there. We have like a 10th fret, 7th, and then down to 9. Okay. The 9, and you play that one up here on 10 instead. Which is like a slash sort of thing. Zach Wilde does it. I mean, lots of people do it. But I would use my pinky so that I can do this and use both fingers for those 2 notes on the 10th fret. Because for me, that just that relieves a lot of the pressure. So we had this, and now we have this. You can always end it with a bend up to your root note too. You can start it and end it with that. So there's that one. Now, do you know how to do surfer bends? That's what I call them. It's just that's where you have a unison bend on your 3rd string, and you're bending your 3rd string up a whole step so that it's the same as the pitch on your 2nd string. In this case, the 2nd string is an F sharp, so you're bending your E until it sounds like the F sharp. And then you kind of bar, and then you hit your second and your first strings together. Now this is B, so we're thinking of this in terms of what note is the first on the first string. That's our root note. So we have this along with the and that's just what I call surfer bends. And now with that, you can do add in kind of like other little double stops, little just like 2-note groupings in there along with it. No, that's I do it a little more focused than that because that was just a little bit of just like whatever. But that's just something else that you can do with that. Just some ideas of what you can do. Just take really easy stuff and just find a way to make it a little more interesting. So I'm just going to end it with that. I'm going to think of more, but I don't want to sit here and waste time just sitting here in silence or just like trying to figure something out and not getting anywhere. I can always durdle like that on my own, but I will think about it, and once I have some more ideas, and I can put those ones up too. But yeah, this stuff is all easy stuff, easy to play. Make sure I'm not forgetting anything. If I am, I'll remember it later. So yeah, try these out.